So it was about 6 months ago when we uploaded a video here called The Life of a Drug Addict. And when we uploaded this video, there was a lot of apprehensions that I had about this. One, this was a really good friend of mine, a girl that I had known for many years throughout my life. And because of that, and also because of the lifestyle she was living, I was worried that people would react very negatively, not only to that video, but also to her. Not being able to see that when wrapped up in an addictive cycle, I mean, in some cases, there is nothing and no lengths that you aren't willing to go to in an effort just to get those drugs that you are addicted to. However, when we did upload this video, the reaction to it was opposite anything that I feared it would be. And a lot of people, in some way, were able to relate to just what this good friend of mine was going through. And unfortunately, and also in a lot of cases, when you get this deeply involved in addiction, there usually are few things that could help you overcome that addiction. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, when you are that deeply involved, there's usually only two outcomes that could come from that. Either the grave or prison. Well, since the time that it's been since we've shot that video, about 7 months ago, that good friend of mine is actually locked up now. She actually got locked up a few months ago on multiple drug charges and also a probation violation. And to be completely honest with you, that might have actually been the best thing that could have happened to her. Because with the type of lifestyle she was living when we shot that video with her, I mean, there really was nothing that was going to reach her or nobody who was going to be able to get through to her to help her realize she really needed to change her ways. So because of that, in all likelihood, jail was probably the best thing that could have happened to her. Because at least when she got locked up, she would have to go through that withdrawal period. She would have to sober up. And hopefully, while going through that, that could be something that would open her eyes and help her to realize what she's been doing up until this point in her life has not been working. And maybe now is the time that she needs to make some major changes. And I can only hope that this time she's been locked up for has been able to do just that for her. You know, when we did this video with her, it was my hope that her story would be able to reach somebody else. That all that she was going through and that she was willing to share with us here on After Prison Show would actually be seen by somebody else who may be just starting to get into that type of a lifestyle. And possibly everything that she was living, going through, and sharing with us would help somebody else open their eyes that going down a path similar to hers is never going to have a good outcome. And you know, maybe you're somebody out there who just dabbles, who deals with recreational use. You know, me personally, I've always said that there is no such thing as recreational use, especially when you're talking about hard drugs. In my own personal case, with the addiction that I've dealt with personally, there is no recreational. It's either all in or nothing at all. And it took me a long time in my life to realize I had to choose nothing at all. And again, if you are somebody like this who has battled with addiction or thinks that you can just dabble or do things recreationally, well then I hope what I'm about to share with you is definitely an eye-opening experience. Because what you may not know or may not have seen is that back before we did the video, The Life of a Drug Addict, featuring that good friend of mine, that was actually the second video that we had done with her. There was actually a video that we had done when I first began After Prison Show long ago that a lot of people have not seen and also features that same good friend of mine. And it was during this video that we did with her where she wasn't dealing with heroin being a part of her life. And at this point, it was only weed. And as a matter of fact, it was during this video that we shot with her, this very first video, that we were actually taking her to go see her probation officer. And in this video, she's actually trying to prepare herself in the event that she gets a drug test when she gets to that probation. What I'm about to share with you is essentially The Life of a Drug Addict Part 1. One of the few times that I was able to see this good friend of mine in between her being absolutely knee-deep in addiction. And even during this time, during this first video that we shot with her, she's still having problems in her life dealing with drugs. She also shares in this video some stories of when she was actually in prison, and while in prison, she was pregnant. While watching this, Keep in mind that this was one of the first ever After Prison Show videos. This was right around the time that I myself was coming home from prison after serving 7 years, and this was also one of the first interviews I had ever done. I really hope that this video, just like the life of a drug addict, is something that you find to be eye-opening. So we're on our way to go meet with this is our first interview. As you can tell, we're bleeping her name out. She doesn't want her name being used in this as she tells her story of what life has been like for her after prison. This is a chick who's done time in prison, and she's been out for a while now, trying to transition, trying to adjust, but she suffers from a lot of addiction problems. You're gonna hear a crazy story from her as she tells the tale of what her life has been like. She also has to see a probation officer, which we're gonna be taking her to see, and I'm sure this adventure is gonna be quite the crazy one, so stay tuned. So this is, say hello.
Hi.
Tell us what's going on with you today.
We're on my way to see my PO. I kind of have to drink a lot of water right now at this moment.
Why?
Cause I like to smoke pot sometimes.
You don't worry about getting violated?
I mean, I do, but I mean, this trick kind of works every time, so.
What's the trick?
You just gas up.
So that's a whole gallon of water you're drinking right there, and you're gonna drink all of that before we get to the probation?
Pretty much.
So let's talk a little bit about the time that you spent incarcerated. How long were you gone, and how long ago was that?
Altogether it was about 8 months.
Right, and you went to prison.
I went to prison. I was pregnant as hell when I went to prison. The last time I went.
What did you go to prison for?
Violation of probation.
And what were you on probation for?
Felony breaking and entering.
Did you have an issue with drugs?
I did. That's why I violated.
Well, do you feel like you have an issue with drugs still?
I mean, I guess as a recovering addict, it's always going to be an issue. But as far as right now, I can say that I am doing better. I mean, granted, I'm sitting here chugging a gallon of water, but I can honestly say that I'm doing a lot better than I was, say, 3 weeks ago.
And tell us about what was going on with you 3 weeks ago.
I just been struggling with an addiction. I pretty much just gave up, and I just kept getting high. And probably the worst way possible you could get high.
What was your drug of choice?
Heroin.
So what do you feel about if this trick that you do with this water doesn't work? What happens if this doesn't work and you fail a drug test?
To be honest, I haven't been on probation that long, so it's not going to hurt me now. If I fail this piss test, it's not going to hurt me at all. But if I do it again, then I'm in trouble. So. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that you cleaned up. You look like you're a lot cleaner. I just had a picture because you wouldn't believe it. And I'm sure it's kind of a contradiction that I'm sitting here chugging this water before I have to go see my PO, but it's not for opiates. It's for marijuana that stays in your system for 30 days. Had it been anything else, I'd be fine. But, I mean, I'm a pothead at heart. So. How much of that water have you drunk so far? Not enough. So you said you were pregnant while you were in prison? Yeah. Did you give birth while you were in prison? No, I got out about a month before I had him. Wow, that's pretty crazy. It must have been tough being pregnant while in prison. It definitely was. They don't seclude the pregnant women. You're in general population with crazies, just like everybody else. Did you have any problems while you were in there? Me personally, no, just because, I mean, I'm cool like that. I get along with everybody. But some people did, and I mean, they have to be put in safekeeping. Some pregnant women had problems while they were in there? Yeah. Wow. They don't discriminate. They don't like you. They're gonna f with you whether you're pregnant or not. Wow, that's crazy. So talk about your kids. How many kids do you have? I have 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys. My oldest is 8, my youngest is 1.5. And where are your kids at right now? They're in Carolina due to the fact that I was incarcerated and that I had gotten in so much trouble over the years. I kind of had lost custody of my kids to family and relatives. So. Do you miss them? Of course I miss them. They're my blood. That was my life. I was a mom before I was anything else. Right. The drugs came after that. So are you trying to get your kids back right now? I am. Well, that's good. Like, what kind of steps are you making to try to get your kids back? I mean, I can't really sit here and brag about anything that I'm accomplishing because it's one day at a time. Like I said, I just recently stopped using again. I mean, I keep relapsing.
What do you think the biggest reason for you relapsing is?
Not having my kids, not having anything to call my own. I lost everything, so when you lose everything, it's kind of just like, it, who cares? Like, might as well just get up, forget about it.
How much of that water have you drunk?
Half.
About half of it?
Yep.
Well, you got a long way to go.
I shouldn't have to drink it all.
So do you think this is worth it? You know, having to drink all this water just to smoke some weed?
I mean, it's really not. In all reality, it's not worth it because ultimately that wind me right back up in prison or jail or wherever the they decide to do with me.
So the point of drinking all this water is to pee a lot before you got to go in to see the probation.
Yeah.
And
so you're pissing nothing but water.
Right. You got to pee right now?
Yeah, I do, but I'm gonna hold it because I'm about to have to go up in here.
And you know they're gonna piss you?
No, I don't know that. So I could be doing all this for nothing. But
and sitting up in there, legs crossed,
yeah, like,
tight-faced.
Like, come on, PO, I gotta go pee.
So we're here at the probation office right now. She's got to get ready to go in and meet with her PO. Hopefully all that's gonna go well for her. I want to talk to you a little bit about some other things. I especially want to talk to you about addiction. It seems like addiction has plagued your life for a long time now. And I just want you to talk about, what do you honestly think it would take for you to clean up your life and really get your stuff together?
Just some dedication, I guess. Really just put my mind to it. I really just gave up at a point in time. And something over these last few weeks, I guess, has just really kind of opened my eyes back up to really just doing other things in my life.
What do you think it would take this time for you to stay on the straight and narrow?
I don't know, to be honest. I just got to take it one day at a time. I can't sit here and predict that it's all going to work out, because then I'll just be let down if it doesn't. At this point, I mean, I'm completely sober as far as I don't even take anything for medication as far as withdrawals. I'm completely over the withdrawals. This is me, completely sober.
That's awesome. I'm glad to see you sober. I'm glad to see you clean.
Nothing's in my system right now.
While you were incarcerated, do you feel there were any programs offered to you that helped you try to get clean?
No, not at all.
So like countless individuals who are coming home after incarceration, definitely suffers from substance abuse issues and denial. It's a great thing that she's no longer using heroin, at least for the moment. Hopefully she'll continue to not use, but to still be smoking weed, that's a definite recipe for disaster, especially while on probation. This is a chick with a great head on her shoulders and someone who can really do amazing things if they just put their best foot forward. But like so many who are coming home after incarceration, it's easy to get sidetracked and derailed. I really hope this girl can make the positive changes she needs to make in her life to succeed. Will she? Only time will tell. And only she'll be able to tell that, actually.